So what's up, people? Didn't get to talk much boxing today because I was busy doing a whole bunch of other things, so I couldn't actually talk a lot of boxing with you guys. But I got a little chill time now in the afternoon. I'm outside. Let me show you where I am, so you guys can have a nice little look at the place. The lighting is a little bit strobish, but I'm outside my house right now, chilling, and I just want to talk a little bit of boxing with you guys. So I'm gonna talk some boxing. This is the back of the house here. Let me do like this instead, so you can see the other. There you go. This is the back of our house here in Trinidad. It's the backyard. All right, it's raining. It's raining right now. It's afternoon, close to nighttime. This is my house right here. So I'm home, just chilling. So I decided to talk a little bit of boxing with you guys before I water the plants and probably scrub down this side at least of the house. Yeah. I'm gonna talk a little bit of boxing. How you guys been doing, man? How you guys been doing? You guys are doing all right? I gotta clip my fingernails. They're too sharp. Yeah. I hope you guys are doing all right. So we're gonna talk a little bit of boxing. So what happened was, let me see if I can get this camera still a bit. The camera's moving a lot, and the lighting makes it strobe, so it's not the best image we can get, but it's all good. So we're gonna talk some boxing. So first of all, remember I told you guys one of the ways that these guys, that is Jamal Charlo and Demetrius Andrade, could really make a mark. They can put a stamp on being really strong contenders to face Canelo is by how they win, the way in which they win. And the matchup I'm interested in is still Demetrius Andrade versus Canelo, but what can I say about their wins? So let's start off with Demetrius Andrade versus Arthur Solecki. Solecki or whatever his name is. Solecki. I think Solecki. Clearly, if you guys were really watching the boxing match, not listening to the commentary, you would realize that Solecki was holding his own, and his defense was on point. And it was very rarely that actually Andrade actually hit him flush at any time. However, Solecki didn't have as much success offensively, and he was kind of one-dimensional offensively, so that at a certain point he was landing the lead right on Andrade, and he did catch him with some check hooks and some hooks as well. But for the most part, Andrade also had very good defense. I noticed that both guys didn't go to the body that much, which was very interesting. But the fight really got interesting for me in that Andrade realized he was dealing with a guy who was a chess player, and that he couldn't just mow over him. He couldn't mow over Solecki. And Solecki was really equal to the task. Now, Andrade was much more flashy, and what he was trying to do was steal the rounds by trying to crash Solecki at the end of the round until Solecki showed that he could fire back. Solecki's also a pot shotter in the purest sense of the word, so he doesn't throw 3-4 punch combinations. Andrade was doing that. He wasn't landing anything, but he was doing that, so he was the more active fighter. Now, Punch Stat said some stupidness about Andrade landing more punches, but the honest truth is that Andrade really couldn't do anything to Solecki. And it's interesting because he was trying the strategy that Gabe Rosado did in the latter part of the fight. He was trying to use large looping shots to hit Solecki. And at certain points in time, at first, he was successful in landing a body shot to Solecki. But then Solecki adapted to it, and that was that. Now, there was a couple of shots that people said Solecki got hit with, which he didn't. Solecki, even the knockdown that happened in the fight, wasn't a knockdown. Solecki tripped over Andrade's foot and went backwards. That's why he got up and he wasn't buzzed or anything. Andrade hurt his hand. No, sorry, not him. Andrade was complaining about his foot, but the reason he was complaining of his foot was because he wasn't able to do what he wanted to do in the fight, and Solecki had made him exert himself in such a manner that he hurt his foot. And I found that very interesting. I don't know if it was cramping or what he had, but he had to overexert himself. Andrade realized he couldn't really penetrate Solecki's defense. So he was just more trying to be flashy, showboat, and he was basically ineffective in his offense, in my opinion. All those crashing shots, Solecki was mostly blocking. And Solecki himself was very calculated and was doing a very good job of landing the lead right at times on Andrade, but he got a little bit too predictable at certain points because he was throwing the same shots over and over again. And so Andrade kind of got a beat on that. But for the most part, he was very effective in countering Andrade. He didn't do it enough. He was very effective in landing those hooks on Andrade. He wasn't as flashy as Andrade was. Andrade was trying to change levels. That is, he's trying to get low so Solecki would miss with some of his shots. And for the most part, he got under most of Solecki's shots, to his credit. And he tried going low to high. He also tried the ambush strategy where you're low, so your defense is there. You're off the center line, and he would sweep shots. So he would sweep his left. Sometimes he tried to troll the overhand right. He would sweep the overhand right. And at first, it caught Solecki, not flush, but it caught him. And then Solecki got adapted to that, and he knew what to do. He would just take a step back. Sometimes he walked down Andrade. Sometimes Andrade walked him down. So that's how the fight went. Andrade most of the time had to stay his ground. He couldn't move as much as he wanted to. He tried to do different things, shuffle. He tried to do the bowler punch to distract Solecki so he could pop a jab. You know, the alley stuff. And it didn't really work. It wasn't very effective either. Now, a lot of people would say that Andrade just beat Solecki and he really outclassed Solecki. That did not happen. This was a chess match. He didn't outclass Solecki. But however, Solecki has sort of a one-dimensional way of approaching certain shots. So, for example, Solecki does not necessarily sweep the right. He doesn't necessarily hook the right. He doesn't necessarily pivot and then throw the right. He doesn't necessarily change levels and throw the right, even though he did once or twice. Most of his shots are 1-2. So he would throw the left, catch. Sometimes he catch Andrade with the jab as Andrade is pivoting, and then he would throw the lead right after that. So that was his thing. It was more of a 1-2 thing. So it's kind of more one-dimensional. He would catch Andrade with hooks. Sometimes as Andrade is pulling out of there. So that's the kind of thing. Andrade would throw a shot, fall short, and then Solecki would come with a hook or something. So that was mostly what Solecki was doing in the fight. And Andrade in the fight was doing various things. It showed he had much more variation, much more dimension to him. I thought he won the fight. I thought Andrade won the fight. But it wasn't, in my opinion, the kind of statement he needed to make for Canelo's, to get Canelo's attention. He didn't actually do that. I mean, he did win almost every round, but he didn't actually do it. So even though you see unanimous decision, it was a highly contested fight. It's just that Solecki didn't do enough offensively. So Demetrius Andrade didn't really do that well, in my opinion, to get a Canelo fight. Even though he was facing a much higher classed opponent. And when he faced Artur Korobov, again, that was a nice high level opponent as well. But at least a higher level opponent than GGG just faced. Not necessarily Canelo. Canelo has faced two opponents back to back. It was Triple G and then it was what's the guy's name at 168? I can't remember. And then Danny Jacobs. Those were high level opponents. Okay. Andrew was saying something about he only faced top tier opponents and Canelo didn't. And he mentioned the guy at 168. The guy at 168 was a better fighter than Korobov, I think. It's just that Andrade didn't go to the body. Andrade doesn't go to the body enough. And Solecki wasn't going to the body enough. They were headhunting. Even though Andrade's father told him to go to the body, he didn't go to the body enough. And that was his problem. But by and large, I think that when we're looking at, in terms of fights, I think that Andrade pulled out his fight that he was supposed to pull out. I thought that it wasn't done in a manner that was spectacular enough, but he was saying how he had a leg injury. I personally don't care. You're supposed to pull it out and make yourself look super good. He did all right, though. He did all right. You can say he got a unanimous decision. I wouldn't say he dominated the fight. I don't think so. He didn't dominate Solecki. But I can't say he outclassed him or outschooled him either. Because Solecki was landing punches on him up to the 12th round. I just think that Solecki is a fighter who uses a lot of defense, and then he doesn't always because of his limited skills, he doesn't always translate it into his offense. So because it's pretty predictable, he kind of becomes predictable as rounds go by. Early on in the fight, he's not. He's really good. But once you see what he brings to the table, he kind of gets predictable. But his defense was on point. I mean, very rarely did Demetrius Andrade actually land anything on him that really phased him. And he also didn't land anything on Andrade that really buzzed him or phased him. But he did land punches on Andrade, nice clean punches as well, which I thought was very interesting. Um, so I would love to see Andrade versus Canelo. But did Andrade make a big enough statement to say, okay, Canelo's going to face me? No. He did speak at the end of in the conference about facing Canelo and the fact that he thinks that Canelo Triple G3 is going to happen instead. But what we hear in the news now is that Canelo's looking at facing Sergey Kovalev next. So I don't know. I don't know what exactly. I personally don't want to see either fight. I don't want to see Kovalev versus Canelo, and I don't want to see Triple G versus Canelo. I don't. Right. My fight that I want to see is Demetrius Andrade versus Canelo. That's what I want to see. I don't see nothing else. Why? Demetrius Andrade, as Jermell Charlo, are both contemporaries of Canelo, and at 154 they were there. Then faced them. So at 160, I was hoping that he would face them. He would face either Charlo or he would face Demetrius Andrade. I just think he should face one of those two guys now. I think Andrade's ready for it. I think Canelo should face Demetrius Andrade. That's what I'm clamoring for. Not necessarily Jermall Charlo. The reason why I don't think he should face Jermall Charlo right now is Jermall Charlo at 160 hasn't really done anything. Right? He's now been crowned interim champion. He's claiming he's a champion. He ain't no champion yet, but he's interim champion. He hasn't faced any. I mean, Brian Adams was his best competition at 160, and Brian Adams. Let's get into that fight. Brian Adams is an inside fighter. Brian Adams works the body, and he showed so many different skill sets, and Jermall Charlo couldn't get him out of there, first of all. Second of all, Jermall Charlo couldn't hit him when he wanted to hit him. He couldn't hit him clean, he couldn't hit him flush. That's a problem. Because what Brian Adams brings to the table, Canelo does 100 million times better. So if he couldn't even handle a Brian Adams, I mean, he did win almost every round, but he couldn't get his jab on Brian Adams like he wanted to. How is he going to land a jab on Canelo? So just based on that, I'm not really intrigued to see him face Canelo right now. I think give him a couple more fights to not only depend on his jab, but have other things in his game. He's a good fighter. I see him fight. He fought when Brian Adams had him on the inside and was starting to muscle him to the ropes. He started fighting back and getting his range with his jab and everything. It was beautiful to watch. I'll leave it out, bang Brian Adams, and then establish back his jab. It was very good. However, Brian Adams is not Canelo, right? Brian Adams is not a top 10 middleweight. Brian Adams hasn't seen this top tier competition ever. He's now facing it. So, he's become a contender. So Brian Adams is nowhere on Canelo's level. So for Jermall Charlo, who's talking about, facing Canelo and stuff, which he's supposed to do, by the way, and he is interim champion. He should face Canelo. That we should do that, right? But anyway, for him to be talking about Canelo like he's ready for Canelo, he's not ready for Canelo. I mean, I listened to them in the conference. He's not ready for Canelo. He wasn't ready for Brian Adams. He's not ready for Canelo. I mean, he did win the fight against Brian Adams, but his jab is not working on Brian Adams like he wanted it to. And Brian Adams is a lot smaller than Canelo as well. And Brian Adams could get to the inside of Jermall Charlo. So if he's getting to the inside of Jermall Charlo, what do you think Canelo's going to do? Right? So I'm just saying. But it's a good training ground for Jermall Charlo. Hopefully he goes back to the drawing board, works on what he needs to work on, so that he's effective at keeping guys who can slip the jab and roll the jab. He's effective at keeping them, maybe not off of the jab, but at least he should work on his pivot work or something. He needs to work on something to make sure he can keep those guys at the distance he wants them to be at. Because I think his uppercuts and stuff didn't deter Brian Adams, because Brian Adams was actually riding those punches. His head was going with the punch. That's why, Roberto Duran used to do that stuff. So, I mean, you go hitting him with uppercuts and stuff, you're not going to stop him. He just going to ride that punch and just keep on coming at you. And Brian Adams showed us that Jamal Charlo ain't no beast. We thought he was a beast. He's not a beast. And so, but I kind of knew this all along. I was telling you guys, if I had to see somebody face Canelo, it's going to be Demetrius Andrade. That's the guy that should face Canelo next. He's also world champion, been a world champion for a little bit. And he's also defended his championship multiple times. He's the guy that Canelo should face next. I'm not really interested in anything else at 160. And I'm not necessarily very interested in anything else. Hold on a second. Just happened up there. Okay, that's something that just happened. I gotta go check that out. But I'm not really interested in seeing Canelo fight anybody else at a higher weight class right now. I mean, Callum Smith is an interesting fight. I'm not gonna lie to you. If Canelo faces Callum Smith, I would watch that fight. But other than that, if he faces Caleb Plant, Caleb Plant's a good. That's an excellent boxer. To see him face Caleb Plant, but it would be fantastic. So Caleb Plant or Callum Smith, Canelo facing those guys. I think those are more competition for Canelo at that weight class. In the 160 weight class, not interested in a third Triple G fight. That's a waste of time, in my opinion. I'm not interested in, David Lemieux fight or something like that. At 160, Demetrius Andrade. I'm not even interested in a Jamal Charlo fight right now at 160. And that's saying a lot. People talking about, Canelo running from Jamal Charlo. I hear Errol Spence saying something like that. I'm looking at Errol Spence and scratching my head because I'm saying to myself, why would Canelo be running from Jamal Charlo? What does Jamal Charlo bring to the table that, is one of my eyes bigger than the other? That's interesting. My eyes are red too. I just ate. And I haven't eaten for the whole day. Maybe that's it. I don't know, man. I got to sort out my eyes though. They're looking messy. Look at a mess. One eye looks bigger than the other. That's my right eye. My left eye is bigger than my right eye. Whoa. That's a little bit weird. I've seen this before. Probably dehydration, but still. Anyway, peoples. So, that's what I want to see. I want to see Canelo versus Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius Andrade telling the fans, you got to be vocal and say, you want this Canelo fight. I don't think Demetrius Andrade beats back Gennady Golovkin, sadly, for this fight because he didn't look as good as Golovkin looked against Steve Rawls. That's the problem. But he obviously faced a guy that's 1 million times better than Steve Rawls in Solecki. And so you really had to factor that in as well. So what I want Canelo versus Demetrius Andrade, Triple G versus Jamal Charlo. They're both jabbers. Triple G works the body though pretty good. That would be a stiff test for Jamal Charlo, but it could line him up to face Canelo next after Demetrius Andrade. So if he faces Triple G, what the zone should be pushing for Triple G versus Jamal Charlo. That's what they should be pushing for. Forget Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius Andrade should face Canelo. All right. Demetrius Andrade versus Canelo. Jamal Charlo versus Triple G. That's what I want to see. I think that Demetrius Andrade is a full-fledged middleweight now. He looks it. He looks solid. He looks big, strong. Let him face Canelo. Let's see it. That's what I want to see. So Jamal Charlo, it wasn't the best performance. He broke his hand or damaged his hand, let me say, swole his hand or whatever, on Brandon Adams' head. But quite frankly, I would say that didn't really make a difference. That's an excuse. I know he uses mostly the jab, but nonetheless, it doesn't really matter. You got to find ways to win the fight, and he did. That's what mattered. I don't think you would stop Brandon Adams, even if he had a good hand. So I don't know why he's making that excuse. So that's that. Brandon Adams looked good in that fight, even though he didn't have, again, as much offense as he needed to have. A lot of his offense was kind of thwarted And once he got on the inside, he didn't always know what he wanted to do to Jamal Charlo, but he did have some success. As to any other fighters that I have to talk about, well, we have Richard Commey. He stopped Raimundo Beltran, I think it was in the 4th round or something like that. So it is what it is. And that's pretty much that for that fight. So most of my picks that I picked, in fact, all of my picks that I picked to win, they won. And just glad to have talked to you guys about this. My eyes are red too. I don't know why that's so. There's a reason for all of this, so I'm going to figure that out and soon. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave your comments in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed the weekend of fights as well. Don't forget you can donate to my channel via Western Union or MoneyGram. I will be able to deal with you first with my online banking account soon, so you guys can know how to donate directly to me online. But until then, you guys have a good one. All right, peace. I'm out.